Ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcomed. I suggest that who is responsible for the national anthem?
It is ready, Chair. It will be
Yes,
played
we are
from
going
the
to
back.
start with the national anthem of South Africa, followed by the African Union national anthem. So if we can just stand up, thank you very much.
Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and sing together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny, our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for lasting peace and justice on earth. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and toil together to give the best we have to Africa, the cradle of mankind and fount of culture, our pride and hope at break of dawn. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, I request that we remain standing to observe a moment of silence for the passing away of the former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, and our ambassador in France, Natim Tetwa. Thank you very much. My name is Supra Ubakeng Ramueletsi Mahuma Pelu. I am the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation in the Republic of South Africa. I'm accompanied here by fellow members of the Portfolio Committee that we'll introduce later. At this stage, I'm now going to ask Ntate Sokolo on behalf of the department, because they are hosting us here, to welcome us in their place. Ntate Sokolo.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, may you please take your seat in front? If not possible, you may. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Supra Mahuma Pelu, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, heads of mission and members of the Diplomatic Corps, colleagues at DERCO in attendance. On behalf of the leadership of the department, I warmly welcome you this morning here at DERCO. As members of the Foreign Service, it is always a pleasure to welcome here at our campus, a beautiful campus, I may add, members of the Portfolio Committee. Of course, naturally, their visits evoke some nervousness on our part, because integral to their mandate is to conduct an oversight on our work and hold us accountable. However, we are pleased with their visit because, importantly, it sends a message that our lawmakers appreciate the work we do and the challenge we face in the environment in which we operate. This support is crucial, especially during this current era of both complex and fast-evolving international contexts. As head of the branch in the department, Branch Africa, I'm particularly pleased that this time around, the committee specifically requested to interact with our key stakeholders, the African heads of mission accredited to our republic. As DERCO, we continue to maintain a dynamic contact with our colleagues from the African continent, and we are pleased that now they have an opportunity to directly engage with members of parliament. With these few words, Honorable Chairperson, I have the pleasure to present to you their excellencies here, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ntate Sokolo, our DDG. Your Excellencies, I'm just going to briefly introduce the Portfolio Committee before I do the remarks. This is the Portfolio Committee, as I have said, of International Relations and Cooperation from Cape Town. We've got there Honorable Musa. You can raise your hand, Honorable Musa. Honorable Musa is from a party called Al Jamaa. Thank you. Next to him is Honorable Kumbaka from the African National Congress. Next to her is Honorable Moela from the African National Congress. Next to him is Honorable Makubela from Umkhonto Wesizwe Party. Next to her is Honorable Modise from the African National Congress. And then we've got Honorable Smith from the Democratic Alliance. We also have Honorable Chetty from the Democratic Alliance. We have an apology from the Economic Freedom Fighters. They have not been able to make it here today. Another member of our committee Honorable Datlas from Umkhonto Wesizwe Party was with us, but he had to leave yesterday because he's preparing to go as part of Parliament to Geneva to do work there on behalf of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome, as Ndate Sokul has welcomed us here today. Your Excellency, Ambassador Abdul, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps in South Africa and Ambassador of Eritrea in South Africa. I'm happy to see you again, as all the time yesterday we were together. His Excellency, Ambassador Andre, the Dean of African Diplomatic Corps in South Africa and Ambassador of the Central African Republic here in South Africa. Your Excellencies and delegates who are here. This is an unprecedented occasion, as you may be aware. In the last 8 years of our democracy, we have not had an occasion where the Portfolio Committee on behalf of Parliament here in the Republic has come together with ambassadors domiciled here in South Africa on behalf of their member states. So as the Portfolio Committee, we took this conscious decision that we are going to commence with this process so that future generations can inherit from us this practice, which we think we need to not only internalize but institutionalize as part of the approach of Parliament here in the Republic of South Africa. As you may know, South Africa's Parliament has got 3 arms. We've got the executive arm of the state, which is led by the state president. We've got the judiciary. Then we've got Parliament, which is led by the speaker. So we are from this other arm whose responsibility is the following 3 key pillars. 1 is to make sure that we make laws. 2 is to make sure that we hold the executive accountable. Thirdly, it's our responsibility to ensure that there's public participation as part of enshrining and deepening democracy in the Republic of South Africa. So we thought it prudent that we must start this process of engaging with you, your excellencies, as part of giving you an opportunity to say whatever you want to say about your stay here in South Africa, how you are working with us here in the Republic of South Africa, how you find the environment here in South Africa, how you think the relationship between you and South Africa and member states you are representing here can be improved. And where we need to commend ourselves, we must also use this opportunity to commend ourselves. We are Africans. You know, we are all working based on Agenda 2063 arising from the African Union. We are in Africa, we are Africans. We are working economically based on the Africa Free Continental Free Trade Area. So that's our landmark that we need to be focusing on, to integrate our economy. So from an oversight point of view, we want to just make sure that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. We want to look at economic diplomacy and how this economic diplomacy must be deepened to benefit our people on the ground, particularly our people in the rural areas, so that they must not view matters of diplomacy as parochial and elitist, that as ordinary people, they cannot interact with. So that is why we are here today. And we are going to give you an opportunity to express yourselves in the manner in which you can do. I don't know, Derko, if we have supplied translation services. I hope everybody is capable and able to hear and understand English. Please, if there is a problem, let us get an indication so that we can make a plan. So as soon as we are done here as the portfolio committee, what we will do is to go back and report to Parliament on our interaction here today. I must also indicate that Parliament has taken a decision to live stream the proceedings of this interaction. So it means it's not only us who will be having access to the proceedings here today, but the people of South Africa are also following the proceedings of this meeting here today. They are very serious stakeholders. That's why we thought they must get it live from here as we interact with you. We want to thank Derko Ndate Sokulo for the manner in which you have assisted the portfolio committee to ensure that this meeting takes place and is in compliance with all the requirements of diplomacy. So I'm now going to call upon our Dean, His Excellency, Ambassador Abdu, to come and do some opening remarks. And as soon as he has done, we can get into interaction among ourselves. Your Excellency, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm here now as the Dean of Diplomatic Corps. Maybe most of you know why I'm saying this. So, the chairman of the Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation, on all the members of the Portfolio Committee present today, His Excellency Ambassador Giacomo, DDG of the Department for Africa, the DDG for Africa, Department of International Relations and Cooperation, esteemed colleagues and distinguished participants, ambassadors and high commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, it is my privilege to address to this gathering on a topic of paramount importance, promoting trade relations among African nations. Today, we gather to assess the implications of the African continental free trade area and other bilateral trade agreements. It is my conviction and belief that CFTA represents a landmark initiative aimed at creating a single unified market for Africa. By eliminating tariffs and reducing non-tariff barriers, we can unlock the continent's vast economic potential, foster competition, and attract investment. Continental free trade area will undoubtedly increase African trade, enhance economic diversification, and promote industrialization. Moreover, it will improve the continent's global competitiveness and create opportunities for economic growth and development. However, we must also acknowledge the challenges that lie ahead. Infrastructure deficits, regulatory barriers, and capacity constraints are some of the hurdles that need to overcome. Nevertheless, these challenges also present opportunities for innovation, collaboration, and knowledge sharing. In addition to CFTA, bilateral trade agreements play a critical role in fostering trade relations among African nations. These agreements can help address specific trade needs, promote investment, and enhance economic cooperation, provided it receives the emphasis and institutional consolidation they require, thereby providing a stronger foundation for advancing continental integration. To further enhance trade cooperation, on my part, I humbly recommend strengthening regional economic communities. I repeat, enhance strengthening regional economic communities. Invest in infrastructure development, promote trade facilitation, enhancing regulatory frameworks, fostering private sector engagement. In conclusion, promoting trade relations among African nations is crucial for our continent's economic growth and development. I urge all stakeholders to work together to harness the potential of trade agreements. By doing so, we can create a more prosperous, integrated, and competitive Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. What we are now going to do, Your Excellencies, is to allow Your Excellencies to express yourselves. This is the moment now to speak to us as members of parliament here in the Republic of South Africa to talk about economic diplomacy, but we will not restrict you to talk only about economic diplomacy. So we can talk about anything under the sun. Because our responsibility as the portfolio committee is to listen to anything that is raised and aimed at ensuring that we strengthen our relations and cooperation. So we are going to not follow any sequence. Your Excellency will raise the hand and introduce yourself, your country, and then for about 5 minutes or so, you can say whatever you want to say. It doesn't have to be a speech. Of course, if you've got some prepared notes, you can also use your notes to say whatever you want to say. So I'm now going to be chairing from the chair there. You can also be talking to us from where you are sitting. I'm sure you know how to operate those mics there. So we can now commence and take hands. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Supra, for giving me the floor. My name is Ahmed Sharif. I am the ambassador of Egypt to South Africa. Excellency DDG Sikolo, Excellency Supra Mahumapelo, Chairman of the Portfolio Committee on External Relations, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee of External Relations at the South African Parliament, Excellency Saleh Abdu, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps. I will speak on my perspective of Egypt's view of the North African region perspective with special emphasis on potentials to accelerate the implementation of the AFCFTA. North Africa plays a pivotal role in advancing continental trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Its geographic position, linking Africa to Europe and the Middle East, makes it a strategic gateway for cross-regional commerce. Countries like Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia contribute sectoral strengths in energy, agribusiness, manufacturing, and logistics, with well-established ports and trade infrastructure. North Africa is well positioned to lead efforts in custom harmonization, digital trade platforms, and infrastructure development that reduce trade costs and enhance connectivity across the continent. Within this regional context, Egypt and South Africa stand out as continental anchors. Their long-standing diplomatic relationship and shared commitment to Pan-African leadership create a strong foundation for deeper economic collaboration. Egypt brings strengths in pharmaceuticals, in textiles, in agribusiness and logistics, particularly through the Suez Canal Economic Zone. While South Africa, on its part, offers advanced capabilities in manufacturing, in mining, in automotive production, and financial services. So we believe that together the two countries can develop regional value chains and industrial corridors that benefit both regions and support the AFCFTA's broader goals. There is also significant potential for collaboration in renewable energy. For example, in Egypt, solar and wind capacity, exemplified by projects like the Bimban Solar Park, which is the biggest in Africa, aligns with South Africa's energy transition ambitions. Joint investment in green energy could enhance continental energy resilience and support sustainable development. Beyond infrastructure, both countries can promote inclusive growth by harmonizing trade protocols, supporting youth-led and small business ventures, and fostering academic and scientific exchange in areas like trade policy, innovation, and climate adaptation. So to sustain momentum, Egypt and South Africa, we believe, should convene regular North-South, North African and South African trade forums to align priorities and monitor progress. As regional anchors, they are uniquely positioned to shape Africa's global trade narrative, advocating for strategic coordination, inclusive ambition, and a unified continental voice. So I'm done with my remarks regarding opportunities to enhance trade with South Africa. Now, allow me to take this opportunity to extend an invitation to each and every one of you, those who are attending here, but also all other members of the South African Parliament, not just the members of the Portfolio Committee on External Relations. We want you to join us at an event that we will host on the 1st of November at 6 p.m. at UNISA's Great Hall for an event that will feature a live screening of the inaugural ceremony of the Grand Egyptian Museum. This is going to be the largest archaeological museum in the world dedicated to a single civilization. It is home to more than 100,000 artifacts showcasing Egypt's ancient heritage and humanity's earliest achievements. And we believe this museum stands as a symbol of our African fraternity and a testament to how civilization began 7 millennia ago here in Egypt, in Africa. We look forward to welcoming all of you, and you will all be receiving your invitations individually through Mr. Lubabala Siguela, the Secretary of the Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Tunisia.
Thank you so much, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we are in the Northern Africa. So thank you for my colleague Ahmed for introducing the Northern region. My name is Karima Bardewi. I'm the ambassador of Tunisia. So it's a great honor for me to take the floor today to share Tunisia's experience in implementing the African Continental Free Trade Area, a landmark initiative that embodies our shared ambition to create a strong, integrated and prosperous Africa that trades more with itself. When Tunisia ratified the FCFTA in 2020, we did so with the conviction that regional integration and intra-African trade are not just political aspirations, they are economic imperatives. Since then, Tunisia has worked tirelessly to translate commitment into concrete actions. We have implemented all domestic legal and institutional procedures to operationalize the FCFTA, aligning our trade, customs and investment frameworks with continental norms. Tunisia has also joined the FCFTA Guided Trade Initiative, enabling our exporters to trade preferentially within Africa, and has already issued more than 200 certificates of origin for African destination. Excellencies, in this dynamic context, South Africa stands as a strategic and natural partner for Tunisia. South Africa enjoys significant influence in the sub-region and within the regional groupings such as SADC and the AFCFTA, making it one of Tunisia's most important partners in sub-Saharan Africa. Our two countries have complementary strength, particularly in the automotive and agri-food sectors, both identified by the FCFTA as priority areas for the development of regional value chains. In the automotive industry, to be only one example, Tunisia has become one of Africa's leading producers of car components, with both local and international manufacturers operating on its soils. South Africa, on the other hand, is a continental leader in vehicle assembly and manufacturing, hosting world-class facilities for international car brands. Together, we can build partnerships for vehicle manufacturing, component productions, technology exchange, and distributions networks. Beyond all the sectors that may be identified, the FCFTA encourages the development of continental value chains. Tunisia and South Africa can cooperate to link their industries, supply networks, and logistics systems, sourcing raw materials, assembling components, and adding value right here in Africa. This is how we can transform the FCFTA into a living reality through partnerships that build prosperity, jobs, and resilience across borders. The road to an integrated Africa is built step by step through trade, trust, and tangible cooperation. Tunisia's vision to be an active bridge between North and Southern Africa, connecting our economies, business, and people. To conclude, we need to harmonize our customs systems, reduce non-tariff barriers, invest in logistics and connectivity, and empower our private sector, especially small and medium enterprises, to trade across borders with confidence. Tunisia firmly believes that only through collective implementation, mutual trust, and bold reforms, we can transform the FCFTA into a true engine for African growth, capable of creating jobs for our youth, adding value to our resources, and building an integrated continent that trades, innovates, and prospers together. I invite all the MPs present today to get in touch through us, through me, as Ambassador of Tunisia, with your vis-à-vis in Tunisia, MPs, so that you can at least start by a Zoom call, a Zoom meeting, to exchange with them, and you are more than welcome in Tunisia to talk more and better about FCFTA. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, Botswana.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Protocol has been established and I'll ride on it. I thank you and your members for meeting us, and of course, I also thank the host, DERCO, for inviting us. The African Continental Free Trade Area, seeks to establish a single market for goods and services across Africa, and therefore enabling free movement of business persons and investments. Now, specifically for our region, SADC, which already has an established trade protocol, the free trade area offers an opportunity to deepen integration and expand intra-African trade. And for me, this is only possible through harmonized regional approaches. I'll just go through quickly what I had in mind. For instance, key opportunities for mutual benefit. I'm looking at investment partnerships. South Africa has the Development Bank of South Africa. SADC, there is also the SADC Development Fund, which should be used to co-finance cross-border infrastructure and small and medium enterprise development. One of the most important, in my view, is inclusive trade. And by this, I mean empowering women and youth entrepreneurs to access the free trade area markets through targeted trade facilitation and capacity building initiatives. And here I have always said our leaders, our countries should also bear in mind or take into consideration human rights issues. You can imagine that woman with her child on her back, traveling from Cape to Cairo under circumstances that are not exactly okay for her rights and for the rights of her child or children. We can also look at strengthening transport corridors. To a large extent, this has already been done. North-South, Maputo, Walvis Bay, for instance, and digital trade platforms to ease goods and services movement. And of course, there is need to promote co-production and value addition in agro-processing, automotive, and pharmaceutical sectors, to name just a few. Chairperson, you talked about the role of diplomacy. I won't go over that except to buttress what you were saying. Economic diplomacy is so important and it should be the driver of investment promotion. Political diplomacy will come in where we are trust building and of course for policy coordination. Development cooperation can align technical and financial assistance with the free trade area. Public diplomacy, one thing that I have noticed is that people-to-people linkages in our region trump most times government to government. I can give an example with Lesotho and Botswana, with Eswatini and Botswana, and some of the South African peoples. They are really doing a lot to strengthen our relationships. And of course, a few policy recommendations like harmonizing standards and customs procedures to reduce trade costs, leveraging diplomatic missions to promote regional investment and market intelligence, and the list is quite lengthy. Now, I want to just take a step back and refer to challenges. The one challenge that is, I don't know, maybe peculiar to Botswana and South Africa is the issue of overstay. If a Motswana overstays in South Africa by even 1 day, that overstay attracts a prohibited immigrant punishment, because we take it as punishment, for no less than a year. And this is not discriminatory. We have had 4-month-old children being PI'd when the parents are in Botswana or vice versa. We have had the very same people that are responsible for trade, the drivers of the truck and horses and trailers, being PI'd, while the people who are carrying goods from Botswana to South Africa and vice versa. And I'm saying this in your presence and basically appealing to you to help us, to help me talk to the Ministry of Home Affairs. And the most painful part with these overstays is that Home Affairs will not allow my office to intervene. They are clear. They have told us that they deal with the appellant. This is the person who would have been PI'd. And I think at times it is so unfair. Somebody would have overstayed on account of health. You are here, they're supposed to live on the 10th. The doctor says, no, you can't live on the 10th. For them to comply with the South African law, the patient should go to Botswana and come back. And at times, this is somebody who is admitted into hospital. And Chairperson, that is one of the things that I really wish you could take up on our behalf. Of course, there are other challenges like infrastructure deficits and energy, transport and ICT, and of course, limited capacity for standards compliance and digital readiness among the SMEs. I could go on, Chairperson, but time is not on our side. So that's as far as I can go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Mauritius.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to everyone. And my congratulations goes to DERCO for hosting this event. I am Luc Morin, Chargé d'Affaires of the Mauritius High Commission in Pretoria. Mauritius and South Africa enjoy excellent relations. Whenever we need something, we look at South Africa. Why? Because it is 4 hours by flight and 4 days by ship. So you see the close link between Mauritius and South Africa. And Mauritius wants to elevate this relationship to new, higher levels. However, let me try to say about the AFCFTA. There are 4 things that I would like to say about the AFCFTA. First, the problem of regional groupings. The problem of regional groupings, I will take you a bit, some 30 to 35 years ago, when we were negotiating the Economic Partnership Agreement. This is where all the things started. REX was supposed to be building blocks for the AU, but according to us, it has become stumbling blocks. It is hampering our process. When they started in 35 years ago between Africa and the EU, there was something that they put in groups. You have the SACU, the BLNS, that is Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, Swaziland, who were dealing in one group. Then we came the ESA, that is the East Africa, Eastern and Southern Africa. Then we got other things. But then when the process started is that the then commissioner, the EU commissioner for trade, Pascal Lamy, who afterwards became DG for WTO, put something on the table, and this said change the mechanics of the negotiation. That is the EBA, everything but for the LDCs. He put on the table everything but firm, and this changed the whole momentum about the negotiations. Now what we have seen, I take the example of Mauritius. Mauritius belongs to the Indian Ocean Commission. Mauritius belongs to the SADC. Mauritius belongs to COMESA. And when we are negotiating at the level of the EU, we form part of the East Africa Group. So you see, it's just like the former EU Commissioner for Development, Louis Michel, said that it's just a spaghetti bowl. The Rex are just like a spaghetti bowl. You belong to different groups. So my appeal is that we have to try to see how we can make the Rex become effective in achieving the vision of our forefathers and Nkrumah, to name only one. So we have to streamline the Rex. And this is not for us. This is for our political masters. They are there, they can reflect on it, and they can come with solutions. This is the first thing. The second thing is connectivity. It is true that Mauritius is near South Africa, 4 hours flight, 4 days by ship. But the problem is that most of us Africans, when we want to travel from one country to another country, we have to go either to Europe, we have to go either through Dubai. In Africa, in this part of the region, you have most of the 3 hubs: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia. You miss one of them, then you're dead. You have to go either to Dubai or you have to go to Europe. This is a big problem, connectivity. By air, this is by air. Then by sea also we have a problem. People will not take containers from South Africa to go to Mauritius or vice versa, because they say that is a low volume. And I think that most of our countries are encountering this difficulty. They prefer to go from South Africa direct to Australia because it's cheaper, it's more economical, more efficient for them. We have also to address the problem of port development, the problem of port development efficiency of our port. The business people will not let you, will not spend more than 1 day in a port because this is money for them. So this connectivity is a big problem that we have. The third issue that I wanted to talk is about free movement of people. When I was in Beijing, we negotiated a visa waiver agreement. The Chinese gave us 60 days visa free. A Mauritian national can go to China getting on arrival 60 days visa free. Now I echo my sister from Botswana appeal. When I have been as if begging South Africa, extend us for more than 30 days, because people from Mauritius who needs to come to South Africa for health, especially in cancer, it is a matter of life or death for them. And most of the time they have to stay more than 30 days. The treatment is more than 30 days. And these people, they will receive a ban. This is why I always say, when I have encountered with, meetings with the with Home Affairs, they say, no, we have to go with the SADC protocol on free movement of people, which allows a maximum of 30 days. So my appeal, I support the plea from my sister from Botswana. This is a very important thing about free movement of people. I don't have any problem, the criminal, the drug trafficking, you take them, you put them. My problem is when the people, they are in dire need of a visa for more than 30 days, they need to be here. Then the last thing, certainty in investment. Mauritius has been signing a number of investment protection and promotion agreement. Because for a business people, he or she will invest in your country provided there's certainty. If you don't have the certainty, then they will not invest. This is the same thing everywhere. This is a simple, simple mathematics. So to conclude, I will quote a statement made by the Minister of SME, a South African Minister of SME, when we were having the SME Summit in July, a South African minister, and she said, we have had a lot of talk show. Now time has come for us to act so that the people can have tangible outcome, tangible benefits. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am one of the newest ambassadors on the block, and so I must say how pleased I am to be here in this great capital and in this great room. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, allow me to thank the Portfolio Committee for organizing this important discussion on promoting trade with mutual benefit through diplomatic relations. Trade promotion is an essential focus for the African continent, and national governments and institutions have viewed trade as a significant path not only to continental growth, but also to national growth and development. ECOWAS, in its founding protocol, placed at the heart of its work the formulation of common policies to advance the interests of the community, including encouraging the promotion of joint ventures by private sector enterprises and other community operations, in particular through the adoption of regional agreements on cross-border. As we all may know, the aim of the community, among other things, is to promote cooperation and integration, to raise the living standards of its people, maintain and strengthen economic stability, foster relations among its members so that the African continent can progress and develop. The community has since promoted trade liberalization, which embodies a gamut of issues from customs and duties levied on imports and exports, and the abolition of non-tariff barriers to promote free trade. Free movement of people and goods, as well as service and capital, are among the community's shared aspirations. The African Union's AfCFTA has covered sufficient grounds that allow member states of the Union to liberalize policies that will induce trade among member states of the Union. Intra-African trade remains essential to the growth of our respective countries and indeed to the growth and development of the continent. Trade promotion has been a vital part of diplomacy Some call it commercial diplomacy, others call it economic diplomacy. The distinction between the two being an indistinct conception. Trade promotion as a diplomatic tool can be viewed from two perspectives, in my view. One of which encourages the establishment of trade and investment commissions between states for the purpose of promoting and facilitating trade and investment. Through the commission's issues relating directly to customs duties, import and export levies, tariffs, and movement of people and services, etc., are discussed. The other concept involves the movement of private capital for investment purposes, whereby private sectors holding interest in specific economic sectors undertake to invest in those sectors. These perspectives, Mr. Chairman, provide mutual benefits. South Africa has the largest economy on the continent, which places it at the center of efforts and initiatives by nations hoping to boost their economies, create employment opportunities for their people, and enhance economic growth and development. The willingness of South Africa the willingness on the part of South Africa to engage, to create a platform at the government level with diplomats and facilitate discussions like the one we are having now about trade and investment in the respective countries and in South Africa is a step in the right direction. Similarly, South Africa has an opportunity to leverage its important standing on the continent, its economic power, to elevate private sector engagement, to encourage the movement of private capital for trade and investment, because by doing so, the mutual benefits of economic growth and development across Africa, across our respective countries, that induce growth and development for our respective governments, for our peoples, are realized. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Tanzania.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Honorable Chairperson. I wish to use this opportunity to join my fellow ambassadors and high commissioners who have spoken before me, first and foremost to congratulate you, the chairperson, for finding time to meet with us in this moment. But allow me also to take this opportunity to thank the Department of International Relations also for making this possible, and to thank our Dean for the remarks that he has presented when he was speaking on our behalf at the onset of this beautiful meeting. Excellencies, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, my name is James Bwana. I'm the High Commissioner of the United Republic of Tanzania to the Republic of South Africa. And according to the setting, Tanzania is also a member to SADC, and we are also members to the East African community. And I'm happy to say that on behalf of my colleagues, I think they might get time to speak if time allows. Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, DRC, and Somalia, we are all invited and accredited to the Republic of South Africa. And through our accreditation and the beautiful hospitality that we have been getting since our arrival in this beautiful country, we have been able to continue performing our functions as diplomats in this country to represent our countries, our government, to continue promoting the beautiful relations between our respective country and the Republic of South Africa, to continue protecting the interests of our people, interests of our nations, and continue negotiating memorandum of understanding, treaties, agreements, and so on and so forth. I wish also to use this opportunity to add my voice also in what others have said in this room on what the African Continental Free Trade Area has for the East African community and for Tanzania to be inclusively. First and foremost, the AfCFTA gives us as a region, the East African region, an opportunity to continue enhancing intra-African trade. And it gives us also an opportunity to continue attracting foreign direct investments through a unified market, promote industrialization, enhance our unity among African countries and our visibility on the global economy. Honorable Chairperson, there is a lot that we can continue harnessing through the African Continental Free Trade Area, and there is a lot that we can continue to do in order to capitalize on opportunities under AFCTA. And as East Africans and Tanzania and other members of the East African countries, we think there is a need to continue undertaking legal and policy reforms in order to continue harvesting more opportunities provided through the AFCTA platform and to continue promoting trade and mutual benefits for both our respective countries and the Republic of South Africa, our gracious host. In that regard, I wish also to say that there is a need also to undertake about 5 key things and continue to undertake them, including continue harmonizing trade policies in order to align our national trade policies with AFCTA provisions in order to harness more benefits that we can get through the AFCTA and our relations with the Republic of South Africa. But second, there is also a need to continue investing in infrastructure development in order to invest in transport and logistic infrastructure and reduce trade costs and improve connectivity between East African region, our respective countries, and the Republic of South Africa. On this note, I'm happy to announce that the government of Tanzania, through the Air Tanzania company, we have enacted the direct flight, 7 flights of Air Tanzania, flying from the Republic of South Africa to Dar es Salaam and Zanzibar 7 times a week. So we believe such kind of measures will continue to put our people together and continue to make a meaningful transfer of goods and services in order to harness mutual benefits of relations such as the bilateral relations that we enjoy with the Republic of South Africa and the platforms that is being presented to us through the African Continental Free Trade Area. Apart from that, there is also a need to continue enhancing trade facilitation measures in order to continue simplifying custom procedures, eliminating non-tariff barriers, and encouraging digital trade platforms in order to continue harvesting the benefit that we can get through the trade relations and the bilateral relations that the East African countries, Tanzania inclusive, continue to enjoy with the Republic of South Africa. Lastly but not leastly, there is a need also to continue strengthening the legal frameworks for investment. And on this note, I'm happy to announce that Tanzania has been taking the championship in order to harmonize and in order to recreate and enhance the legal mandate by establishing the Tanzania Investment and Special Economic Zones Authority, which now puts all investment procedures, investment processes under one roof in order to continue encouraging trade and encouraging investment from across the region to the United Republic of Tanzania. Such kind of legal frameworks are useful and meaningful, and I believe as a continent, we need to keep pace in order to harmonize our legal frameworks and open up more windows in order to trade and benefit from the trade opportunities that are available through our bilateral relations with the Republic of South Africa and the market that is waiting there through the African Continental Free Trade Area. Chairperson, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, that is my few remarks. And I thank you so much again for giving us this opportunity to meet with you. And I'm looking forward for more such engagements with other portfolio committees, particularly the committee dealing with the home affairs issues, as my colleagues from Mauritius and my colleagues from Botswana have raised. There are other numbers of things that, given time, we'll be more than happy to continue engaging on matters related to the Department of Home Affairs and immigration issues. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Malawi.
Thank you very much, Chair. Allow me to stand on the protocols that have already been established. But let me also echo my colleagues' remarks to express our gratitude for the opportunity to meet with the portfolio and DECO and all of us to discuss issues that are of a mutual benefit to all of us. I'll talk about Malawi. Malawi and South Africa, we do enjoy long-standing diplomatic we are long advocating for trade and not aid. And if we are to make this into a reality, then it is important that we promote investments and commercial activities that are going to benefit both countries. We have so many companies that are operating in Malawi. I can mention just a few. We have Old Mutual, we have Standard Bank, we have Max Steel, we have Game, we have ShopRite, etc., etc. But there's a lot that we can do. We can expand this relationship and on these investments by expanding into agro-processed foods, mining, manufactured goods, and also tourism services. But as I've already said, you find that there is this imbalance that is there between us. And largely, it's because of non-tariff barriers. It is a challenge to access South African markets. I'll give you an example of for the past 3 years, when I've been here, we've tried to penetrate the market. We have the best gin in the world, Malawi gin. And it's been difficult the past 3 years to get a license, to get markets, a fair share of the market where we can bring our products into South Africa. Yet we are part of part of SADC. There are protocols there where we are supposed to be to have equal regulations and licenses and procedures. But you find that there are these barriers, quotas, licenses, regulations, and customs that are designed to make importing or exporting our goods more difficult or costly. I also have an example of the time when South Africa had a shortage of eggs. Malawi expressed interest to supply eggs, but it was so difficult to penetrate that market. Malawi is only a 2-hour flight from South Africa to Malawi. But to our knowledge, it was easier for countries outside Africa to supply eggs. And some of the reasons given were not clear. And then some of the departments that were responsible, they were not welcoming. So these issues of non-trade and non-tariff barriers to access RSA markets, those have to be addressed. Then there is also another issue that we need to discuss. That as we are reflecting on trade and investments, it is equally important to reflect on the movement of people, because trade is ultimately about people. Goods do not move themselves across borders. It is Africans who make trade possible. So migration, therefore, is not an isolated issue, but it's an integral part of our economic and social fabric. So the issue of migration has also to be discussed, has to be looked into. For Malawi, the question of migration is particularly close to home. Many Malawians have for decades contributed to South Africa's economic growth. Talk about the agricultural sector. Talk about the mining construction. Talk about the informal economy. Their work and remittances, they support not only their families, but also development in their communities back home. And in this way, migration serves as a form of people-to-people cooperation that underpins regional solidarity and economic interdependence. So, Chairperson, however, we must also acknowledge the challenges that continue to confront African migrants in the region. While we recognize the sovereignty and laws of each country, we remain concerned about issues of dignity, safety, and the treatment of migrants. Human rights should remain at the heart of our cooperation. Africans should not feel alien in fellow African countries. So, if the FCTA is to achieve its transformative promise of a united, borderless, and prosperous Africa, then the spirit of free trade must go hand in hand with the spirit of free and dignified movement of people. We cannot meaningfully integrate markets if we do not also integrate our humanity. I have in mind what my sister has already mentioned. We have so many informal traders that are coming here to do business. And if, for instance, they have come to order their stuff, maybe it takes them more than 30 days. Just an overstay for one day, they are given a 5 years. Yeah, they are given a 5 years prohibition. And this is an informal trader trying to make ends meet. If you buy that person for 5 years, how is he going to survive his business? And the processes that are there for them to lift those bans, that's also another challenge. So that has to be looked into. Then we also have the issue of medical visas. You've come here to do your business, or you've come here to do meetings, and you fall ill in South Africa. Whether you write to the responsible departments that so and so is in hospital, we have these documents from the doctor that this person has to be in hospital for maybe it requires a surgery or it requires further medical attention. Say no, still an overstay, 1 year, 3 years. Yet maybe that person is supposed to come for further, medical attention. You find that person cannot come because of this ban that is there. So, as we are talking about trade, let's also talk about migration of people, the dignity of people. The issue of visas and permits needs to be given thorough attention. So Malawi, therefore, calls for continued dialogue and collaboration between our governments to ensure that migration management is humane, is orderly, and it is also development oriented. So we must strengthen mechanisms that promote migrants, that promote regular pathways, and enhance labor mobility in a way that benefits both the sending and the receiving countries. So in conclusion, let me say that let's remember that the true wealth of Africa lies not only in our natural resources, but also in our people. Their skills, their resilience, and their aspirations. It is these people that build the bridges of trade and friendship that connects our countries. Thank you very much.
Zikomo, Your Excellency. Any other taker? Cameroon. Thank you very much. You'll be followed by Kenya and then Sudan.
Honorable Chair and His Excellency Sokolo, let me start by thanking you, Honorable Chair, and JACO for giving us the opportunity to engage with the South African portfolio this morning, particularly the portfolio committee. This morning, as we consulted informally among countries from the Central African sub-region, comprising Central African Republic, Chad, Gabon, Cameroon, Guinea, and Congo, who are all present here, and definitely would have to complement whatever statement I make here. We realized that we were in total sync and agreement with regard to identifying challenges and opportunities in current economic and trade relations. My colleagues, the bureaucratic obstacles, infrastructural deficit, trade diversification, tourism infrastructure, and airline connectivity or maritime connectivity, market promotion, and so on. I would rather use this brief moment to reflect on the role of Parliament in promoting economic diplomacy and giving wings to the African
continental free trade area. I looked into the South African parliamentary diplomacy remit, and I found that one of the cardinal objectives is to strengthen South-South and South-North cooperation for mutual benefit and shared prosperity. I guess at the end of this session, you would have gathered enough arguments from us practitioners, diplomatic practitioners, to ask for an even bigger portfolio for your committee in Parliament, because most of the things I'm seeing, I'm going to say would require of money. I think as members of that portfolio, you need to be mindful of the fact that you need to promote bilateral trade and treaties. Most of the trade and treaties that come are necessary for doing the job that you want. And agreements on investments, employment, and the avoidance of double taxation. These are some of the things that you do on a daily basis which impact the subject we are discussing today. Also, there's the promotion of trans-border infrastructure. Voting budgets in our various parliaments for trans-border projects, infrastructure is sometimes a problem because of competing domestic needs, as people would want to have infrastructure in the interior of the country. But it is important to place an emphasis on the development and promotion of trans-border infrastructure. Closer home, I see the Kazungula bridge. I visited that one between Botswana and Zambia. Then there's the Bait Bridge between South Africa and Zimbabwe. You can see just these two, what they have done within the SADC region here. In our own region in Central Africa, we are placing emphasis on this type of projects, roads, energy projects, because without energy, we can't even diversify our economies and add value to the things we export. So I think that is very important. I would also want to come back on the need to harmonize the regulatory framework. In the Central African region, we have done that with our laws promoting commercial relations, OHADA. We even created a whole organization for that, the Organization for the Promotion of, for the Harmonization of Economic and Commercial Law in Central Africa. Colleagues have already also spoken at length on the issue of consular facilitation. It is without consular, without the free movement of people, there can be the free movement of goods. And that is a very important. So in your work, when you look at these issues of migration, it is directly impactful on economic diplomacy. And of course, we've also spoken at length already on connectivity. Connectivity, whether it's of air transport, maritime transport, communications, because it's at the present moment, when I go to my country, I'm forced to move northeast to Addis or to Kenya or Rwanda before I start going west. You see, and it poses quite some problem. And of course, rail and road connectivity are also very, very important. Governments may not be able to do all of this by themselves, so it is important to involve private sector participation. We need all of that private sector participation, and especially we also need investment protection and promotion and protection agreements. We need that because without that we cannot actually promote shared prosperity. I think those are some of the few. Those are the few remarks I had to make at this point, and I thank you for the opportunity of engaging with you on this. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yeah, I think I said Kenya. Ghana will follow.
Thank you, Chair of the Portfolio Committee, DDG Africa, honorable members of Parliament of the Portfolio Committee on International Relations. I wish to express my gratitude also for the invitation and to be accorded this opportunity to with my fellow colleagues to express ourselves on this important matter of trade and investment. Kenya is a member of the East African Community, and Kenya is one of South Africa's leading trade partners in Africa and a major recipient of it. It is the largest export market for the South African products to East and Central Africa. Kenya and South Africa have enjoyed trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area under the Guided Trade Initiative, with the first consignment having been flagged off in February 2024. As a member of the East Africa, Kenya will continue to leverage on the existing trade arrangement, the Continental Free Trade Area, Tripartite Free Trade Area, EAC COMESA, to increase our trade figures with South Africa and the other countries in Africa. For our case, Kenya, the trade is in favor of South Africa in a very big way. So we hope to leverage on these arrangements to boost our trade figures. However, it's very important that the issues affecting trade in goods and services under the continental free trade areas are addressed. The cost of transport, especially for the small and medium enterprises, remains a major challenge, and this keeps the percentage of intra-African trade very low, because as we know, most of our people are quite a big percentage are small-scale traders. So addressing the cost of transport is a major issue. Addressing like my colleagues have said earlier, addressing free movement of people and goods, it's very key, because you can never have movement of trade of goods without movement of people. So it's important that the issue of movement and like my sister from Malawi and Botswana have said, the issue of the migration issues, it's important that they are addressed, because if people cannot move, then goods can also not move. We also have the tariff and non-tariff barriers, which also hinder trade, and I think it's important that they are addressed at the Continental Free Trade Area. Now that we are addressing the Portfolio Committee, I think it's also important, because parliaments are the ones that domesticate the protocols and laws that are passed under the economic blocks. So Parliament plays a very key role, and I think it's important that this is noted. So East Africa remains a major destination of Kenyan exports, and now with the CFTA, we have and the other regional blocks, we have a much bigger market. So Kenya trades with South Africa under the EAC tariff, just like South Africa trades under the SACU tariff under CFTA. Kenya is open to bilateral negotiations with South Africa on specific products like cut flowers and pineapples, which currently are having a challenge in entering the market. So Kenya and the East Africa calls on all players within the South African trade and investment sector to work together to unlock the tariff and non-tariff barriers to create market access for goods between countries. This will help address the trade imbalance, like I had said earlier. Kenya and East Africa expresses its commitment to various trade arrangements signed between our countries and, of course, a request for reciprocal treatment. So at the ACFTA, a lot of progress has been made in the case of Kenya, where we have Kenya green tea, coffee, flavored tea, among others, having gained market access to the SACU region and having been zero rated. On the same note, duties on black tea are being phased out gradually in a period of 5 years. So from the East African point of view, it's important that we address all the challenges that have been hindering intra-African trade so that we can be able to increase this percentage from 15 and grow it to bigger numbers like we have seen in the AU and other important, other regional blocs in other parts of the world. So Kenya remains a very committed player in the African continental free trade area, and we continue working with other countries to ensure that we help the trade figures grow and therefore improve the welfare of our people, and especially the small and medium enterprises and the unemployed youth in our continent. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Ghana,
Thank you very
Sudan
much.
will follow.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good morning, everybody. Let me also stand on the existing protocol to make few. My name is Mahmouda Osman from the Ghana High Commission. I bring you greetings from the Head of Mission, His Excellency Benjamin Anan.
Value chains cannot be overemphasized. This should include improved road and rail border crossings and improved transportation infrastructures within countries. It is instructive to note that on cross-border value chains, as South Africa's automotive sector is well established, the country might need to consider establishing partnerships under the AFCFTA for joint cooperation in the automotive manufacturing value chain with other regional countries. In the medium to long term, vehicle battery manufacturing, in particular for electric vehicles, is one area which South Africa and Zimbabwe could explore for potential partnership in the electric vehicle manufacturing value chain, considering that Zimbabwe is one of the major continental players in lithium mining, which is a key input into vehicle batteries manufacturing. We are all agreed that an integrated African market is also likely to attract increased foreign direct investment to African countries and could shift foreign direct investment from natural resources to manufacturing, thus creating employment opportunities as investors seek to take advantage of increased market size. Suffice to say, given that an integrated continent will have a larger supply market, decreased trade restrictions, and manufacturing specialization will accelerate and make Africa's industrialization globally competitive. Allow me to commend our African leaders on the speed at which the AFCFTA agreement was ratified, which signifies widespread political will to advance trade and development on the continent. However, according to the African Union Development Agency, AUDA NEPAD, the successful implementation and reaping the benefits of the agreement would depend on several interlinked factors, where member states are called to act on the following, among others. 1. Continuing steadfastly on their commitments to implement the agreement. 2. Harmonizing trade policies across states, regions, and the globe. 3. Developing and instituting mechanisms to eliminate all barriers to trade. 4. Building and improving infrastructure, including information and communication technologies, to expedite and smooth trade across borders. 5. Facilitating diversification of Africa's economies and export profiles, such as through industrialization and a focus on higher value added goods and services. Last but not least, enhancing monitoring of cross-border flows of goods and services and leveraging demographic expansion by investing in human capital and harnessing a large labor force. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge South Africa's role as Zimbabwe's largest trading partner, despite the persistent trade imbalance. It would be remiss of me not to emphasize the importance of updating trade policies to reflect contemporary realities, advocating for the removal of outdated colonial book regulations that hinder economic growth, such as restrictions by the country on importing pharmaceuticals by air. Chair, I would not have done justice to my intervention if I don't brief the meeting on the steps that Zimbabwe is taking to implement the AFCFTA agreement. Let me update this August House that the country is making the necessary arrangements at national level to gazette its tariff offer and start preferential trading under the agreement. Allow me to further inform the meeting that while the aforementioned process is still ongoing, the country has been undertaking a number of economic reforms and programs to be able to benefit from trading under the AFCFTA and strengthen its bilateral relations with South Africa. These include the following, among others: ease of doing business reforms. The country has been reviewing sectoral regulatory conditions to ease the burden on businesses, reduce bureaucratic hurdles, and lower compliance costs to improve the overall cost of doing businesses and competitiveness. The exercise will cover all sectors of the economy, but to date, sectors which have been completed include tourism, transport, retail, wholesale, and livestock. On trade facilitation, the country has been upgrading and modernizing its border post infrastructure at the busiest border post in Southern Africa, the Beitbridge border post, which connects Zimbabwe, South Africa, and other African countries up north. This has led to improved border operations and processes, enhanced traffic management for private vehicles, buses, and trucks. Bilateral engagements are ongoing to construct a third bridge linking the countries and establish a one-stop border post at Bay Bridge within the framework of the Binational Commission. The improvements at the border post undoubtedly will also support regional trade and integration within SADC and beyond. And last but not least, Chair, the country has also been engaged in upgrading and modernization of the Bedbridge border post to also include the road rehabilitation for the road from Bedbridge, Harare to Chirundu. Work is also ongoing on this initiative to facilitate efficient transportation and trade. I will conclude, Chair, by highlighting Zimbabwe's main foreign policy agenda, enunciated by His Excellency the President, Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, which also dovetails with the thrust of the Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation, which is economic and commercial diplomacy. To this end, trade and investment promotion activities are now the priority focus at the country's diplomatic missions abroad. The main thrust is to facilitate trade, market intelligence, attract investors, and engage the diaspora. Let me end by stressing that trade agreements such as the AFCFTA, among others, should not be an end in itself, but means to an end, which is transformation of people's lives. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Guinea.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, permettez-moi de m'exprimer en français. J'ai quelqu'un qui doit traduire. Je m'inscris, je suis le protocole de mes prédécesseurs. Nous remercions la présidence, nous sommes ravis de la présidence sud-africaine du G20, que, à mon avis, qui est l'un des meilleures présidences d'ailleurs pour l'Afrique, parce que ces genres d'initiatives que vous inscrivez à l'ordre du jour, tel que nous venons de sortir de la semaine de la diaspora africaine, qui est une illustration parfaite de l'intégration africaine et de l'émancipation de l'Afrique. Parlant des jeunes de libre-échange continental, nous avons beaucoup de chemin à faire.
Good morning, everyone. His name is Mr. Abdullahi Silla from Guinea Embassy. Is happy to be here today amongst everyone and to talk about Guinea.
Je disais que la présidence sud-africaine du G20 est un grand espoir pour le continent africain.
The G20 is a big thing for the African country. We are happy to
to be part of the hosting of the G20.
Okay. Donc, je vais continuer. Je voudrais dire que vraiment en matière de jeunes de libre-échange continentale africaine, en matière de commerce, l'Afrique a du chemin à faire. La première des choses qu'on doit faire d'abord, c'est faciliter la circulation des personnes elle est bien, telle que beaucoup de mes prédécesseurs l'ont dit ici. Je parle sous contrôle de ceux qui savent et sont dans le domaine consulaire, tel que son Excellence l'ambassadeur du Cameroun l'a dit. La facilité de visa entre les pays, ça c'est un grand défi. Le cas spécifique de la Guinée, nous délivrons nos visas sont online, nous délivrons nos visas dans les 72 heures avec moins de documents, juste la copie du passeport, la photo de la personne, la copie du certificat de vaccination fièvre jaune. Vous avez votre visa dans les 72 heures, vous partez en Guinée. Mais si nos compatriotes demandent le visa à Conakry là-bas pour venir en Afrique du Sud ici, ils ont beaucoup de difficultés, que ce soit même des hautes personnalités qui viennent en mission en Afrique du Sud. Si la mission c'est 3 jours, on ne vous accorde que le visa pour 3 jours. Vous voyez, donc ça, il y a des chemins à faire dans ce sens. L'exemple papa était le cas de Indaba. Nos missionnaires étaient venus. Juste la durée du séminaire. D'autres n'ont pas pu même se promener, connaître un peu la ville. Et nous délivrons les visas de 3 mois pour toute personne. Par jour, nous recevons minimum des dizaines de demandes de visa sud-africains. Dans la semaine, on peut recevoir jusqu'à 100 demandes de visa. Ces gens-là, quand ils rentrent à Conakry, l'ambassade ne sait même pas qu'ils sont à Conakry. Ils pourront partir directement dans les zones minières. Ils n'ont aucune difficulté à s'intégrer. Parce que la Guinée est dans une phase vraiment d'intégration africaine et la facilité, tel que le grand projet que nous sommes en train de mettre sur place, tel que Simandou 2040, nos portes sont largement ouvertes pour tous les pays du monde, spécifiquement les pays africains. Il y a tellement de facilité d'intégration chez nous que quelqu'un qui rentre en Guinée dans les 72 heures et puis créer sa société, il y a plus de visa entre nous et c'était beaucoup de pays africains. Et à mon avis, c'est le libre-échange commercial entre les pays doit commencer par ça d'abord. La facilité des visas et la limitation de lutter contre le protectionnisme, lutter contre les barrières tarifaires et non tarifaires. En faisant cela, à mon avis, l'intégration économique africaine aussi, quand nous prenons dans les zones sous-régionales, ça se passe très bien, tel qu'en Afrique de l'Ouest, il y a l'intégration effectivement économique, ça marche très bien, mais parlant de toute l'Afrique, ça pose encore assez de problèmes. Parce que nous, en Afrique de l'Ouest, tu peux circuler avec un simple carte d'identité dans tous les pays ouest africains de la CEDEAO. Mais il est difficile de quitter la zone CEDEAO, venir commercer en Afrique centrale ou bien en Afrique du Nord ou bien en Afrique australe. Il y a ces difficultés-là. C'est quelques mots que je voudrais partager avec votre Excellence. Merci.
As African, Guinea is having a big issue on the visa side. Some of, like in Guinea, people that are leaving South Africa to go to Guinea, they are obtaining their visa under 72 hours with some few documents. But people that are leaving Guinea to come to South Africa, then took like 2 to 3 weeks and then got all the difficulties, even when they have the document to give them the visa. Example, some of the Guinean delegation was supposed to be in Daba. It was a very big issue for them to get the visa. Some of them did not attend to the Indaba. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, I don't know if there are still Excellencies that will want to speak. We are at the stage where we need to break and close our session. Before we do that, we will allow members of the committee to make comments. So if there are no other excellencies that will want to comment, we will now call upon His Excellency Abdu, not on behalf in his other capacity. So he'll make remarks on behalf of Eritrea. Over to you, Excellency.
Thank you very much. You are very right, Honorable Chairperson. I am now wearing the hat of my government. Yeah, and thank you for giving me the chair. I am coming with a different perspective, but sharing my views, not that to reverse the already enforced economic establishment, which is African Continental Free Trade Area, but to allay the skeptics of this gathering on what I have uttered before I presented my general remarks. Eritrea, influenced by the distinct political and economic landscape, has historically navigated a complex relationship with international and regional economic integration. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area was ratified by the majority of African Union member states, with the exception of Eritrea. Eritrea has not signed African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, making it the only country that had not signed the CFTA. Eritrea has publicly, and with the obvious and determined reasons, Eritrea has publicly stated that it prefers to focus on fostering regional integration first, seeing it as a more pragmatic and achievable approach than a broader continental one. This position aligns with Eritrea's long-standing policy of self-reliance, and it is the emphasis on strengthening economic regional blocs. Commitment of African Continental Free Trade Area can be considered a significant step towards the establishment of a unified economic society. But from the Eritrean perspective, it is subject to several inquiries. This remains inadequately explored. However, this endeavor is confronted with obstacles for Eritrea, a nation that has traditionally adopted a different approach to multilateral agreements. In order to effectively realize the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area, it is imperative to consider the Abuja Treaty with the aim of enhancing the capabilities of regional economic communities, mitigating both tariff and non-tariff barriers, and establishing a comprehensive regional and continental customs union. This undertaking presents a formidable challenge that necessitates careful deliberations and strategic planning. The outcome of adopting a predominantly top-down approach to African integration raises the classical dilemma of which should come first, the horse or the cart? Honorable Chairman, at present, none of the 8 regional communities officially recognized by the African Union have successfully established a fully functioning customs union. This raises critical functioning questions regarding the challenges and implications of implementing the Africa continental free trade area in the absence of robust, coherent, and well-organized regional economic communities. From an Eritrean perspective, priority should first be placed on strengthening regional economic blocs, followed by the gradual establishment of strategic trade and governance structures that are institutionally sound and contextually appropriate. Such sequencing would ensure that regional frameworks receive the emphasis and institutional consolidation they require, thereby providing a stronger foundation for advancing continental integration. These fundamental questions about the sequencing of African integration, whether continental frameworks should proceed the strengthening of regional blocs or vice versa, without adequately addressing the weaknesses of regional economic communities, mitigating tariffs, non-tariff barriers, and building strong governance frameworks, the African Continental Free Trade Area risks being a top-down initiative that lacks the practical foundation necessary for meaningful and sustainable continental economic integration. Honorable Chair, then my humble my humble appeal to this gathering, who are members of the African Continental Free Trade Area, is let us strive to provide a stronger foundation in African Continental Free Trade Area for advancing continental integration objectives to be successful. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And thank you very much, other excellencies that have raised the issues. And I want to thank the other excellencies who did not speak, not because they can't or they don't have the issues, but they realize that issues that have been raised prior by other excellencies are similar and some are identical, some are the same. Honorable members, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do small comments because basically from here we will do the report, as you know, and then we will table it in the House in Parliament to be adopted. Then we do implementation working with DERCO. Honorable Chetty, anything? Thank you, Honorable Chetty. Honorable Smith, any comment?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to Your Excellencies. It's wonderful to have you here with us today. And Chair, if I may just extend greetings in some of the shared languages of the delegation. Pour ceux qui parlent français, on est ravis d'avoir cet échange aujourd'hui. Vous êtes les bienvenus. Et pour le monsieur de Guinée, peut-être la prochaine fois, ça sera plus facile de vous exprimer en français. Je peux transmettre le message en anglais chez nous. Para quem fala português, bom dia, bem-vindo. And I'll have to brush up on my Swahili and Arabic and Amharic maybe for the next meeting. Your Excellencies, this is a very uncharacteristic meeting for us because we have no oversight over the ambassadors posted to South Africa. We only have oversight over the South African executive and certainly the South African diplomatic corps. But this exchange is certainly very insightful because it gives us a lot of insights and understanding as to the challenges experienced between African states, certainly facing South Africa and with the engagements with South Africa. There's much to cover. I mean, I think so many topics have been discussed, so I'll try and condense it as much as I can. But what I think is important for us, and I think we need to start having very frank discussions about relations between African states, is that there needs to be a shared agreement of principles or a shared commitment among African states to underpin what it is that we're trying to achieve, either through the African Union, through the African Free Trade Continental Area, through addressing barriers to trade, tariffs, etc., looking at issues of immigration, looking at integrating Africa and African nations. And the difficulty, I think, with the South African government is that much of the issues, or many of the issues rather, that you raised sit outside of DIRCO. Immigration is the responsibility of Home Affairs. We do touch on it through consular services, and we do interface with these particular departments to a certain extent, but they are still separate in terms of legislation ministries. When we talk about economic diplomacy and trade, much of that lies with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. What I would encourage your excellencies to do is please set up meetings with those ministers, especially now in the new dispensation with the Government of National Unity. There's some fresh blood in certain departments and certain ministries that are looking at these departments in a different way. I'm from the Democratic Alliance. We have the Ministry of Home Affairs. I can tell you that there is a lot of work underway in that particular department and ministry to overhaul the way in which electronic or visas or travel permits are issued. Everything is being digitized to make it easier. And I do hope that we can see some positive developments on that front for many of the nations who've expressed difficulties here today. And I share in your frustration. I genuinely feel a sense of frustration from African nations when it comes to moving between South Africa and other African states, trading with South Africa and other African states. And we need to look at what those barriers are, systemic challenges, whether it's legislation that needs to be reformed in South Africa, whether there is regional legislation that needs to be reviewed. And I'll use some examples. I think moving towards trade, the problem with South Africa is that our economy has not grown or diversified enough to allow competition from other African nations. And that is a reflection of failed domestic policy, which is something that we have to address at Parliament and that we are looking at very, very carefully. We cannot have Malawian eggs come into South Africa if our own agricultural sector is facing pressure, for example. And this is only further exacerbated by the geopolitical circumstances and the global climate, looking at the trade wars that have been waged on all of us by the Trump administration, and this move towards a more protectionist approach when it comes to trade and when it comes to development. But I think therein lies an opportunity for Africa, where we need to learn to be more interdependent. I think what we've learned, certainly through the Trump administration in South Africa and through AGOA, is that if you place all your eggs, to use a pun, in one basket, if that basket breaks, it's a very bad thing. We need to start spreading those eggs among many baskets, and we need to look for some African baskets when it comes to trade. So there definitely is a need for us to reform South Africa's domestic legislation, get our economy growing, because we're being overtaken. Many of your economies are overtaking South Africa, are becoming more competitive, are becoming more independent. And I think South Africa has really rested on its laurels and benefited from a fair amount of exceptionalism in Africa, which is quickly drying up. And it's up to us, I think, now to look at us, or take a frank look rather at ourselves and say, what is the future of South Africa within Africa? Because we can't exist in isolation. We need each other. If I look at regional legislation, and I think this speaks to the push and pull that we need to address among African states. Yes, there are difficulties that many of your nations find with South Africa. There are many difficulties that we face in our interactions with other African states. The Southern African Customs Union, for example, is still a means for South Africa to heavily subsidize neighboring nations in SADC with regards to trade and customs. It would not be in other Southern African countries' interests for us to just drop SACU or to reform it in such a way that we flatten the organization. But those are things that we need to look at. So there might be some short-term pain if we want to really, truly integrate African economies for long-term gain, I suppose. And I think that's another example. Your Excellency from Guinea, I think part of what you said was not entirely conveyed, but you did speak about silos, the fact that Africa trades and exists in silos. If you're in West Africa, you stay in West Africa. If you're in East Africa, you stay in East Africa. And I think we see that in Southern Africa as well. SADC tends to kind of stick to itself. Very little opening up with other parts of Africa. And I mean, Your Excellency from Malawi, I'm a big gin fan. I didn't know that Malawi made gin. I'll have to come and speak to you to get a bottle. But we should be trading those sorts of products within SADC as well. But I think just to wrap up, aside from reforming our domestic legislation, looking at regional reforms to legislation, and looking at a shared framework that Africa can pursue for greater integration, greater economic cooperation, there must be a commitment to peace and stability. South Africa is a constitutional democracy. We value the values in our constitution: democracy, freedom, human rights. And those are universal values that underpin any free society and allow the free movement of people and trade and goods. And we see that as a very important thing to pursue on the African continent. The backslide of democracy is worrying, and it completely sabotages the dream of a united Africa, or an Africa that can move freely between states or can trade freely. When you have opposition politicians being jailed, when you have limitations on the press. Those are some of the values that we hold dear and that we would also like to see reflected in fellow African states to ensure that Africa is truly free. And I think that's an important point to make as well. But by and large, I'm very, very grateful for the input from each of the nations that came to meet us today. As I said, it's a very uncharacteristic meeting, but certainly very insightful. And we will take everything that you have mentioned and raised in this meeting back to Parliament, and certainly back to our ministries. Many of us are in the coalition. We represent the legislative wing of government, but we obviously have ministers in the executive, and they are responsible for many of the issues that you've raised. And we will certainly take those back and ensure that we can have better relations with Africa as South Africa. I'll leave it at that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Smith. Anything, Honorable Modise?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think Mr. Smith would have covered a lot of ground. But just to assure yourselves, ambassadors, that South Africa